Is she feminine or is she toxic? I genuinely believe that I am the only person who's managed to figure this out. To date, I've not seen anyone, whether they be a dating coach or a researcher or some marriage counselor, come even close to understanding the difference between when a woman is in her feminine state and when she's in her toxic state. And this is so important because no man, no average man, 99% of men can't tell if the woman that they are with, the girl that they're dating, the woman that they're married to, is actually a feminine person, or if she is this toxic, cancerous person. Many men believe that the woman that they're with is actually toxic, when in reality, she's actually feminine. Or vice versa, that the woman that they're with, they think, oh, she's just a cute feminine girl who just has these bouts of emotions, when actually she is a toxic cancer on their life. And all of these online dating coaches are completely useless. They're absolute clowns. These coaches promote to their followers this wholesome traditional marriage. And yet, when you look at their own lifestyle, these coaches are sleeping around with different girls. They're not even in a long-term, meaningful relationship. And if they are, this girl is probably not a virgin. She's been piped by other men before, passed around. She's very low quality. She has incredibly revealing pictures on social media. She might even have an OnlyFans or a private platform where she sells more intimate pictures and videos of herself. And it's very likely that these two will break up anyway eventually. Men simply don't know how to navigate the different states of their girlfriends and their wives. But I do, because I figured this out myself through years of experimenting, through years of analyzing my own marriage. If you don't figure this out when your woman is being feminine or toxic, it will eventually lead to a complete collapse of the relationship. You'll lose this physical connection with each other, which is this time and effort that you put in to being so attractive, so desirable to each other. The emotional connection breaks down because you're no longer interested in understanding each other, and the spiritual connection breaks down when you just simply don't want to put any effort towards fulfilling the other person. If you want to learn more about the 3 states that are part of a traditional relationship, a meaningful relationship, just go look at the previous video. I go into a lot of detail on that. And you'll end up breaking up with a woman who is actually feminine, but you wrongly perceived to be toxic. Or, which is probably worse, you'll end up staying with a woman who's actually toxic, who brings you down in life, who cripples your progress, because you wrongly believe that she's actually feminine. In either case, you're no longer with your true soulmate. And I often say this to the young guys in Library of Adonis. You only get one life in this world. I'm quite religious. I'm Muslim. So of course I genuinely hope there is an afterlife. But what do I know for certain? I know that this life is real and that death is real. And one day we will all die, and that terrifies me. Because you get just this one life guaranteed. Why would you want to spend it with anyone who isn't your soulmate? Why would you want to be with an actual toxic woman when you could have found the woman you were always meant to be with, who genuinely dedicates her whole life, her whole existence to satisfying you? And similarly, what if you're already with that woman, but you just don't know how to handle her femininity, so that relationship collapses? What a sad and pathetic way to live your life, knowing that in either case, you're not even with your true soulmate. What actually is femininity? Because a lot of young men think The femininity is just like this cute, girly, wholesome behavior, and it is to an extent. But that's just the basics of femininity. That's not what femininity actually is. That's more of a personality type. True femininity is a complete fluid state of change. So, fluid meaning that it's malleable, and change meaning that how this woman behaves at one point in life, at one point in the day, may be completely different to another point in the day. And it depends entirely on the emotions that she's experiencing. Whereas masculine men, we live our life dictated by facts and logic. I won't just get angry because my phone stops working. I might feel anger inside of me, but I won't let that dampen my day. Why? Because I tell myself that this phone is worth $500. Is $500 really all it takes for me to spend the rest of the day feeling like shit? I make that triple in a day if I want to, maybe even quadruple. So the time that I spend crying about my phone, stressed over it, frustrated, angry, I could just go and work. In a fraction of that time, I could just buy a new phone. But women aren't like this. Women rely entirely on their emotions, what they experience. Think about your wife, think about your girlfriend. One moment, she could be perfectly fine and happy. But the moment that she experiences a change in her emotions, that's when her personality will also change. So let's say in that moment, she's fine and she's giddy, and you put on a movie, and at the end of the movie, the dog dies. You know, women, feminine women, they love animals, they connect with them. And the dog dies, and it's a very sad scene, and the movie ends. And of course, you feel that sadness too. You're still human, you still have feelings and emotions. But you won't spend the rest of the day crying and just acting like life's over. But she will. She will literally climb into bed, close her eyes, and just sit there in sadness because of that dog dying. Because that dog dying in that movie meant that her emotions went from happy to feeling heartbroken. But on the other hand, let's say one day your girlfriend is just feeling very low. Maybe she's on her period. She's got pain, discomfort, and she just wants to stay at home all day and not do anything. And let's say you make a surprise visit to her house. Let's say you don't live together, but you surprise her. You come to her house and you bring flowers. What do you think she will act like then? Do you think she will still be this moody, very depressed, very sad cat? Or will she be a very joyful, very jumping little girl? The pain and the discomfort, the emotions associated with them are eliminated. In her life, they don't exist anymore. Now, all that matters is you've made her happy. You've brought her flowers, you've brought her chocolate, and your presence in itself is what causes this change of emotions inside of her, that therefore leads to a complete change of personality. She becomes an entirely different person. And the same principles apply for angry and stressed. She could be having a very perfect day. You know, she goes to work happy, but one of her co-workers makes a comment about her, maybe, you know, like a snarky, slight disrespect. Maybe one of her female co-workers says to her, "Oh, your makeup's a little bit wrong here. Do you feel okay? You look a bit sick." You know, women are very self-conscious about their looks. So then what happens? Your wife, your girlfriend will spend the whole day acting like a bitch, even with you, because of just this one instance that happened at work. Femininity is change. Masculinity is the resistance to change, right? Just because somebody says to you, "Hey, are you okay? You look a little bit sick." You won't get offended. And even if you do, you'll just be like, "Well, I'm not sick. In fact, I feel absolutely fantastic. And you'll carry on with your day. But with femininity, the personality of your wife or your girlfriend, it has a rapid onset depending on her emotions. So, in the example where your wife or your girlfriend is feeling very sad and depressed, and you turn up with flowers, the time difference between her feeling like crap and her feeling like the princess of the world is literally 1 second. In 1 second, her personality switches completely. But at the same time, it's rapid elimination as well. You brought her flowers, you turned up, and now she feels fantastic. But let's say that's all you do. Let's say then you just kind of leave her alone and you go do your own thing. Maybe you've got work to do, so you go on your phone and you answer some emails. Yeah, the flowers are cute, but that hype has died down now. Yep, you coming to her house was awesome. She feels amazing, but you're not really spending time with her anymore. So this change in symptoms, this change in emotions is eliminated. She goes back to whatever she wanted to feel in the first place, which was sad and depressed. Why? Because the period is still there, right? Her menstruation hasn't went away. So since you are not influencing her anymore, she is now subject to influence from anything else. Her family, her friends, her health, whatever. So her emotions will fluctuate constantly. Whenever you or anything in life is influencing her, she will respond to that. The moment you stop influencing her, other things still are influencing her, she will respond to them. So femininity is rapid onset, but the change in emotions, the change in personality can also be eliminated rapidly. So her emotions look like they're fluctuating. One moment she's happy, the next moment she's sad, the next moment she's angry, the next moment she's stressed. This is why men, married men especially, pull their hair out trying to understand their women. But the trick is, don't try to understand her. Her personality is not like yours. She is not resistant to change. She is fluid to change. So instead of trying to understand her personality, try to understand her emotions and what could be causing them. And like I said, the emotions that feminine women experience, subject to any factors in life, family. If she has a great relationship with her family, what you'll often find is when she is with her family, she often has this vibrant, very colorful personality. But if her family is very distant, if she doesn't have a strong father figure, if her mother is very promiscuous, isn't in a committed relationship, if her siblings don't interact with her at all, when she is with her family, she will have the opposite effect, where when she's at school or work or with you, she's happy. But the moment she goes home with her family, she's now depressed and sad. Same thing with friends. If she has this tight knit network of high quality, very feminine female friends, you'll find that she replicates their emotions. So when they're all happy, when they're all giddy, especially when they all meet up, she will have this very vibrant, very positive personality. She'll be very happy. But if her friends are quite toxic in themselves, if they're quite negative, they're quite hateful, quite spiteful, which is actually more common. Women are more likely to be toxic people, which I'll define in a bit, than actually wholesome feminine people. That influences your wife, that influences your girlfriend. If your wife or your girlfriend is friends with toxic women, your wife will start experiencing that toxicity. That doesn't necessarily mean that your wife will become toxic, but the effect of the toxicity will take place on your wife. She will feel very sad. She will feel very depressed. She will feel very anxious, very insecure because of the effect that her friends are having, so-called friends. Co-workers as well, because if your wife or your girlfriend works, she'll see them almost every day. even strangers. If your girlfriend is in a really happy mood and you text her and say, come meet me at this cafe and we'll have a really cozy coffee date. And she dresses up, she's looking really cute, and she's walking down the high street. And just in the corner, there's a homeless guy who looks absolutely disgusting. He's covered in his own filth. He's probably got, vomit all over him, like alcohol next to him. And he looks at her in a very creepy, rapey way. What does your girlfriend now feel? What emotions does she experience? She feels fear. This guy might attack her. She feels vulnerability, that she's not safe right now. She's concerned for her safety. She's in this heightened state of anxiety. Now, when you look at it logically, when you look at it through facts, is this homeless guy really likely to attack her? Of course not. He's just doing his own thing. He might look disgusting. He might even act disgusting with the way he looks and talks to strangers on the street. Well, what's the likelihood of this guy actually doing something? Virtually not. So if this happened to you as a masculine man, you would just brush it off. You might be a little bit vigilant when you're around him, but you just carry on with your day. And that concern, that fear will subside. Because factually speaking, when you look at it logically, would you really let him have such an effect on your life? Of course not. But when you're a feminine girl, what do you think happens? She'll turn up to this coffee date with you, and you've put in so much effort to dress up and share this very romantic moment with your wife or your girlfriend, but she is now just withdrawn. She's constantly looking over her shoulder. She's very moody. She's not laughing. She's not really talking. She spends all her time on her phone. All because of that one interaction. Work, if her boss is an asshole, you can guarantee that whenever your wife or your girlfriend comes home, she's going to act very negative. Purpose is a very interesting one because feminine women don't have a defined purpose because their purpose in life, like what is the greatest gift to humanity that you can give? Being a mother, being a wife, having children, that is not a purpose. That is just life events. It's what's expected of you. It's what you want, but that is not the gift that you give to humanity. Purpose is like a woman saying, I want to become an artist that donates money to children, right? Let's say that's your girlfriend. She loves art. All she does is draw. All she does is just look at videos and reads about art, and she really wants to create art. She's not in it for the money. She's not in it for the fame. She just wants to enjoy this hobby and turn it into something truly special that could give happiness and joy to others. But one day, some guy comments on her work. Maybe she has like an Instagram page where she puts up pictures of her art. And he says, lol, this is awful. You should quit now. Do you think your girlfriend will still want to be an artist? What if it happened again? Again, we as masculine men, we get given criticisms, hate comments all the time. I'm literally Hamza's brother, so I've seen the amount of hate that he gets. Has that stopped him? Of course not, because we know as masculine men, for every one hater, there's 1,000 supporters, there's 1,000 people that believe in you, that believe in your mission. But feminine women don't think logically, they don't think through facts, they just look at emotions. How did she feel when she read that hate comment? She felt sick. She felt disinterested in art. In fact, when she looks at art, she feels disgusted. She hates herself, she feels insecure. So now her purpose is changed. Maybe she doesn't want to be an artist anymore. Maybe right now she has no purpose. Right now she just wants to lie in bed all day. She doesn't care. She doesn't care about reading the art book that she's got. She doesn't care about attending the art classes. Her purpose has been eliminated. Maybe forever. Health, like I said, women's health, period, they become very sensitive, they experience a lot of discomfort, a lot of anxiety, a lot of insomnia. That influences their emotions. Whether my wife will act like the happiest little princess when the sun is out. And the moment it starts raining, she'll say she doesn't want to do anything because just looking outside makes her feel sick. I don't want to go out in the rain. Even though I drive, I have a car, we can still go watch a movie. We can still go bowling. We can still go on a date night. We're still going to be indoors. I'll hold the umbrella for her. But she doesn't want to anymore. She just wants to have a lazy day. The content consumed is a really big one. We know the effect of social media, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat. We know how these algorithms work to keep us addicted. Imagine if your girlfriend or your wife thinks that she's a little bit fat. Maybe she is, maybe she isn't. Who knows? So she feels insecure. She feels very ugly. And imagine if all the content that she's shown on Instagram is 10 out of 10 beautiful women. Women who wear a lot of makeup, women who've had a lot of plastic surgery done, women who use a lot of filters, women who even use apps that in real time edit how you look. So when you film a video, as a woman, your waist is tapered. Your breasts are enlarged. In real time, there are apps that can do this. What would your wife and your girlfriend feel after she consumes all this content? Because remember, it's very addicting. She can't just stop looking at it. Her insecurity, her anxiety, her self-hatred will get worse. So even though you think that she's sexy, even though you find her very beautiful, do you think she will still want to go wear makeup? She probably think, what's the point? Do you think she'll still want to dress nice? I'm ugly regardless. Whatever I do, my husband will find other women more attractive. Even when it's not true. What happens in the world, what happens next door, say if like her flatmate, the flat next to her got robbed, she will experience those same emotions that flatmate is experiencing, even though what's the likelihood of the robber coming back into the same building, the same floor, and just robbing the flat next door? It's never going to happen. He's not stupid, is he? So as a masculine man, of course, you'll be a little bit concerned, but you'll take precautions. You'll make sure the door is locked. You'll make sure you have your Ring doorbell on. But as a feminine woman, you'll refuse to leave the house. You'll refuse to leave the flat. You'll literally call into sick, into work, say, I can't come in. I feel sick. When really, you just don't want to because your personality's changed. Even animals. If, my wife has a cat, I got her that cat because I work so much that I wanted her to have some company. Sometimes a cat is very joyful and giddy. It's called zoomies, when the cat just runs around like mad. My wife will experience that same excitement. I know that when my cat is feeling very excited, very hyper, very energetic, and is running around our house, jumping from one place to another, coming to us, running away, coming to us, my wife feels that same excitement and acts the same way. I find that my wife is constantly running around the house, doing this, doing that, tidying this. She's very full of energy. She's very excited to get the house clean. She's very excited to go on walks with me. She's very excited to go out together, to go on date nights. But sometimes my cat just wants to be a lazy cat. Sometimes he just wants to sleep. He's an animal. How do I know what he's experiencing? He's got a million things on his mind. Maybe he's just tired. Maybe he didn't sleep well. So the whole day he just rests. What do you think my wife does? Do you think she goes around in that giddy, excited way? No. When she's doing the housework, she's complaining. She's like, I feel so tired. When I say to her, let's go out on date night, she's like, do we have to? I just want to sleep. I just want to rest with you. All because of this one cat. So really, when it comes to true femininity, it is virtually impossible to control it. It's virtually impossible to dampen it. Your girlfriend or your wife is experiencing emotions because of something. If you tell her, stop being sad, she could certainly try, but that something is still causing her to feel sad. So you cannot make her feel better just by trying to control it. And it's really wrong to do that. Your wife, your girlfriend, she has a right to be sad. If your wife or your girlfriend, and it's that time of the month where she's got her period, she's feeling pain and discomfort, she has a right to experience that pain and discomfort. She has a right to show you through her emotions how she's feeling. Feminine women do not communicate through words. When you ask your wife how you're feeling, what's the one thing that she'll always say? I'm fine. Even when you know that she's upset. So what women say, you should just completely ignore and disregard. Look at their personality. Look at the way they act. Look at their emotions. To try to suppress a feminine woman's emotions is one of the cruelest things you can do. It is the same as taking a beautiful bird and putting it and locking it inside a tiny cage where it can never fly again. That's what your woman will feel like if you try to control or suppress her femininity. But her emotions, and therefore her feminine state, can be influenced. If something is causing her to feel pain, if something is causing her to feel sadness, but something else, such as you, cause her to feel joyful, excited, happy, then those are the emotions she will show. She will feel those emotions and it will be shown through a change in personality. So, how do you influence your wife or your girlfriend? Obviously, this applies to women who are feminine, who allow their emotions to influence change in themselves. The first thing you do is empathize. If your girlfriend or your wife is feeling sad, don't tell her things will be okay. She has a right to feel sad. Maybe work was awful. Maybe her co-workers were mean. Maybe her friends didn't invite her to some social thing that they were arranging. Sit with her. Talk to her. Ask her what happened. Empathize with her. Even if you don't think it's that big of a deal. This isn't about you. This is about her. When she says, my friends didn't invite me, look at her really shocked. That's really inconsiderate of them. What a horrible thing to do. Make her feel that you understand her pain. Don't just say to her, things will be okay. It's okay. I'm sure that they didn't mean that. No. Imagine what your wife is feeling right now and replicate those emotions. Show her that you care. Hold her. Comfort her. Give her a hug. Give her a cuddle. Literally say to her when you're holding her really close, I can't take the sadness away, but that doesn't mean that you have to be alone. I remember I said this to my wife once when she was feeling sad, and I held her close and I whispered this in her ear, and she literally burst out crying. And she said to me, I don't deserve you. Have you ever had a woman say this to you, that I don't deserve you? I love my wife and she worships me, and she feels that's still not enough. Wouldn't you want a wife like that? I'm so fortunate. But I molded my wife into this person. I comfort her. And then I induce new emotions. Through my actions, new emotions are induced. Let's say your wife has had a terrible day at work and is really moody. What do 99% of men say to her? Like, say you walk in the house, she sat on the sofa, she feels very depressed. You say, what's wrong? She'll say, had a terrible day at work. 99% of husbands will say, oh, it's okay. I'm here now. Oh, things will get better. New day, new you. It'll pass. Let's try and be happy now. In her mind, she's thinking, what a horrible person you are. I literally said to you that I feel bad and you are dismissing my emotions. You don't understand me at all. My own husband doesn't get me. Nobody cares about me. If I die right now, maybe he'll be better off. Maybe he doesn't even love me anymore. He's probably cheating on me. I would too. I'm so ugly. No wonder all my friends hate me. Think about how absurd that way of thinking is, just because you said things will get better. But she's not thinking through logic and facts and reasons. She's thinking emotionally. What is the emotion that she feels? But at first it was frustration, sadness because of work. Then it was self-hate because you don't agree with her, you don't empathize with her. Similarly, what if your girlfriend is being very argumentative? You two just keep clashing today. Who knows why? You tell her to do something and she literally snaps at you. Why don't you just go do it? You think to yourself, where did that come from? Maybe she's upset. She literally says to you, all you do is just boss me around. You don't even spend time with me. What will 99% of men do? They'll tell her, well, it's because I'm working a lot. You want me to provide for you? You want me to buy us a nice house? You want to live in the house that we have? You want to be able to go buy food? It's because I have to work. That's my purpose. That's my mission. I love what I do. Do you think she cares? Do you think in that moment she cares what you have to say? No. It's not the reason why you didn't spend time with her. It's the action. You did not spend time with her. Therefore, she feels angry. In her mind, she's probably still thinking, yeah, he's cheating on me, 100%. I bet it's with that girl. I bet it's with that one whore that keeps popping up on his Instagram. I bet he's DMing her. You know what? I think I'm going to go kill myself. This is literally what she's thinking. So no wonder she snaps back. So feminine state will always be subject to influence as long as it's done right. So in those same examples, like with the girlfriend is argumentative, when you ask her, why do you keep acting like this? She says, because you don't even spend time with me. What if in that moment you walked up to her and you put your hands on her ass and you squeezed her bum and you looked in her eyes and you said, you're right. I'm going to spend all of my time with you now. You're mine. I'm not letting go of you. You literally put your arms around her and you squeeze. So at first she starts laughing. At first she's like, stop. You know how girls do this when you're teasing them. And you'll kiss her. 10 seconds pass, 20 seconds pass. She's like, okay, I'm getting really hot now. You're like, nope, I'm not letting go. You said I don't spend enough time with you. Well, now me and you are going to be one person. Where do you want to go? You want to go outside? Let's go. And you literally pick her up and you carry her outside. What emotions will your girlfriend or your wife be experiencing now? Excitement, thrill. You've literally lifted her up. She's thinking, holy shit, I didn't realize my husband was this strong. Happiness, joy, laughter. She doesn't care that you didn't spend time with her. That's irrelevant now. All that matters now is you are spending time with her. In the example where, say if my wife doesn't even work, she's my wife, she's a housewife, I retired her when we met. But let's just say she did work and she had a terrible day and she's moody. If I came home and I said, what's wrong? And she said, I just had a terrible day at work. And I sat with her and I whispered to her, I'm so sorry. What happened? She opens up to me. She's like, oh, well, that coworker, that girl, yeah, she was really mean to me. And then my boss yelled at me for not doing this. And I just look at her and I say, that's terrible. I can't believe you had to go through that. Come here. You deserve a hug. What emotions will my wife be experiencing now? Comfort, warmth, peace, safety. Does she now care that she had a bad day at work? No. Those emotions are gone now. They're not influencing her anymore. What happened is not having an effect on her anymore. I'm having an effect on her. I'm making her feel better. So in a little bit of time, she'll start becoming positive again. She'll start becoming happy. It really is that simple. But what's the difference then? What is toxicity? Toxicity is an entirely negative state. There is no positivity associated with toxicity. So you see how femininity can be shown through negative emotions, sadness, frustrations, and positive emotions, happiness, joy. Toxicity is only negative. It is a complete negative state where your wife or your girlfriend refuses to be influenced. When she's being feminine, you are able to influence her. You can comfort her, you can empathize with her, and she will respond to that. But if she refuses to allow you to influence her, if I sit with my wife when she's had a bad day at work and I say, come here, she goes, no. Or if your girlfriend is argumentative because you don't spend time with her and you try to grab her and she says, let go of me, she walks away. That is her being toxic because you have tried to influence her. You've done the right thing. You haven't just said to her, oh, cheer up, it'll get better. You haven't just said to her, well, yeah, it's because I'm working a lot. No. You've tried to influence positive emotions in her, but she rejected you. She is now being toxic. That is always that toxicity is. It is a state of negativity where she refuses to be influenced. Let's say if your wife is giving you the silent treatment because of whatever, right? You guys had an argument. And so you try to comfort her, you try to make her happy, and you try to induce these loving emotions. But she's just not even accepting you. She is rejecting you. She's not even trying to let you in. She is outright rejecting your advances. That is her being a toxic person. So despite you putting in this time and effort to induce new emotions like I did, mentioned, your woman just refuses to change her toxic state. So here, it's not just that she isn't looking at facts or logic, because that would still be feminine. In a toxic state, your wife, your girlfriend, is refusing to even consider her emotions. She is dead set on this one thing. I am upset. I am angry, and I refuse to change. That is her being toxic. If she was feminine, she would be subject to change. She would be able to be influenced. Toxicity is actually a completely normal part of us. We're human. We're not robots. Even me as a masculine man, even I undergo toxicity sometimes. Say if something happens in life, my car breaks down, and I really let that get to me, and the whole day I'm acting like I'm just angry. What's the point? I just think to myself, man, I'm fucking tired of this bullshit life. Like everything bad just keeps happening to me. Really, what's happened? My car broke down. Is that so out of this world? No, cars break down all the time. It was a negative event that happened. Do I have a right to feel negative? Of course I do. But should I show that negativity? Is that what a masculine man does? Am I so fragile that all it takes is just one common event to occur and I let it ruin my whole day? So it's completely normal, but as masculine men, we work so hard to control it. Feminine women are more subject to toxicity than masculine men, but it's still not the normal state for a feminine woman. Meaning a feminine woman might act toxic sometimes, but overwhelmingly, she is still feminine. A toxic person, man or woman, will always act more toxic than not toxic. So when your wife is acting toxic, you just need to accept she is completely unreasonable at this time. You cannot talk to her and make her feel better. You cannot comfort her and make her feel better. Something has happened, doesn't even matter what, it's irrelevant. That means that she is now in a toxic state and she will stay in that toxic state until she's done. She can't be influenced, not by facts or logic. That's how you influence a masculine person. Or emotions. That's how you influence a feminine woman. So no matter what you do, when your woman is being toxic, you won't be able to change her negative, toxic state into a positive feminine state. You need to just let this toxicity run its course entirely. Remove yourself from the equation. That's how you deal with toxic women. If your wife or your girlfriend is being toxic, you've tried to comfort her, you've tried to induce positive emotions, but she's just rejecting your advances. Your presence is what is fueling this toxicity right now. The more present you are with your wife or your girlfriend, the more this toxic state will last, and it might even get worse. So remove yourself. You are the variable in this equation. Everything else will stay the same. Your wife isn't going anywhere. Her toxicity isn't going anywhere. You can. So if you're in a room with your woman and you guys are arguing, you just feel she's being really toxic now. Don't even bother staying in that room. Don't even stay silent. Stand up and leave. And if she asks where you're going, don't say anything negative like, I'm leaving because you're being toxic, because that will refuel the toxicity. Just say, I have stuff to do. I have work to do. I'm going to the gym. Show her that this toxic state will not be rewarded with your attention, by your presence. If you take your girl out, coffee date, romantic dinner date, and she's being toxic, very negative, and despite you trying to influence her emotions, she's rejecting your advances. What do? You tell her, come on, we're going home. You take her home, drop her off. That's it. The date night has ended. You've removed yourself from that equation. If you're on a phone call with her, end the call. Just say, all right, I'm going to get going now. It was nice talking to you. You don't have to be mean. You don't have to attack her. Just be polite, show manners, but don't give her any of your love. Don't give her any of your attention. Don't give her any of your presence. If it's texting, if she's being very negative on WhatsApp, SMS, just stop replying. You don't have to reply to every message. Just because your girlfriend sends you a message and says, how come you always keep giving attention to other girls? And you keep going backwards and forwards trying to show her, no, you're not. Whatever you're doing is clearly not working. She's still toxic. So just stop responding to text. Give her peace and time alone. Your presence is what's fueling her toxicity. Over time, and this could literally be a few minutes, could be a few hours, could be a few days, her toxic state will naturally die because there is no more fuel to the fire. She is feeling very negative, but she is still being influenced, or at least trying to be influenced by other things in life. There's only so many times she can reject. Over time, her toxicity will die because you are not there to validate her feelings. When somebody is being toxic, they're literally crying for attention, but you should never give that attention to a toxic person because it will enhance the toxicity. When a feminine person is being negative, when a feminine woman is being negative, she is crying for attention, then you should absolutely give her all your love, all your care, because that will influence her positive emotions so she feels better. But when she's being toxic, your presence will make things worse. So if you are not there to give her validation, if you are not there to give her attention, her toxic state will die. It will subside, and then it will give rise to her natural feminine state. And that's when you can influence her. What you'll often find, by the way, is when your wife or your girlfriend goes from toxic to negative. When she's toxic, she's rejecting your advances. When she goes back to being her feminine state, she will now beg for your attention. You will know when she's in a feminine state, when she will literally text you and say, I'm sorry. Or when she'll literally just come sit next to you without saying a word and just cuddle up next to you. When she'll literally just come to you and just start crying. That is her now being feminine because she craves you. She knows that when she acts toxic, you will be gone from her life. Temporarily, but you'll be gone. So the only way she can get you back and your love back is by being feminine. And that's when you add yourself back to the equation. So follow the same principles, my methods that I've developed. Now, anyone else, me, I'm taking full credit. Oh, how do you influence a feminine woman? You empathize, you comfort, and she'll change in emotions. Never attack her for being toxic. Never say, yeah, I left because you were just being a bitch. Don't say that. Just say, I had things to do. When she comes to you and she goes, how come you left me? And she starts crying. Just say, oh, I'm sorry. I just had to go to the gym. What's wrong? And she says, I've been feeling awful all day. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. That must be awful. Come, let me give you a hug. And that's it. She will now go from a sad feminine state to a happy feminine state. But most men can't follow this process because if they could, then no man would ever complain about their wife being a bitch. No man would ever complain about dating toxic women. No man will ever be frustrated on why they ask their girlfriend what's wrong, and the girlfriend always says nothing, but she's been giving him the silent treatment all day because it's just too hard. Do you know how much effort it is involved when someone is being toxic and attacking you? For you to not attack them back, it requires discipline. It requires you becoming like a stone. What is masculinity? It is being resistant to change. So when your woman is being toxic, what is more masculine? You giving in and attacking her back, or you remaining unchanged? You remaining stoic? So just remove yourself. The toxic state is constantly refueled because 99% of men can't follow what I've said. The last thing is, what happens if your girlfriend or your wife is always toxic? So random, spontaneous bouts of toxicity is normal. You'll often find that a truly feminine woman, 90% of the time she's feminine. She could be sad, that's still feminine. She could be angry, that's still feminine. But she's feminine 90% of the time, meaning in 90% of the time, you are able to influence her. She accepts your love. She accepts your advances. 10% of the time, in fact, 10% is quite high to be honest, maybe 5% of the time, she's toxic. Where she rejects your advances, she rejects your love. In those cases, just remove yourself. But what happens if your girlfriend or your wife is always toxic? Constantly toxic. Every day, she's toxic. That is completely unacceptable. Because that will lead to disrespect. Respect is the most important thing for a masculine man, especially if you want a traditional loving marriage. I don't want my wife's love. I command her respect, though. She will respect me. And when she doesn't, she will be disciplined. Disobedience. Imagine me telling my wife, even when she's being toxic, you can't go out today. You can't go out with your friends. I don't like them. They're quite trashy. And she says, I'm going out anyway. You can't stop me. This happens in relationships. You probably know. You've seen this happen to guys that you might know, where the guy doesn't want his girlfriend going out. The guy doesn't want his girlfriend wearing something so revealing. But she says, you can't tell me what to do. Normally, she would always listen to him. Normally, she's a very loving person, but because their relationship has been going downhill, it's now reached the point where his girlfriend is totally disobedient. He issues a command. You can't wear that outfit outside. She rejects his command. She's disobedient. She says, fuck you, I'm wearing it. Would you tolerate that in a relationship? Would you tolerate disrespect? And obviously, if she's always toxic, that means that there is no femininity. She's more toxic than feminine. You're dealing with a person who is more unreasonable. You can't even induce emotions in her anymore. In that case, you just have to decide, like, how long are you going to suffer like this? Because you are the victim. It often takes two people, right, to ruin a relationship. Let's not be big-headed. If your relationship is going downhill, then there must be something that you're responsible for. But when somebody's being toxic, when your wife is being toxic, you are the victim. You are literally undergoing a form of domestic abuse. If the roles were reversed, and let's say the husband was always toxic to his wife, he always just said negative things to her. He never complimented her. He always criticized her. He made her feel worthless. He made her feel frustrated. He made her feel angry all the time. His wife didn't know whether her husband today will explode on her or just leave her alone. What would people say to that woman? They would say, run. They would say to her, get out. This is like a serial killer. It's like a serial killer event waiting to happen. This guy will harm you. So that woman will get told she's literally an abuse victim. But when the roles are reversed, when it's the woman doing it to the man, Society will laugh at you. Well, I'm not laughing. Constant toxicity is a horrible way to live your life. And especially if you're dating or married to this girl. So you then need to decide, how much disrespect are you going to tolerate? How much disobedience are you going to tolerate? How much hatred towards you are you going to accept? Because not being in a relationship is still better than being in a bad relationship. A relationship that is with a toxic woman is 100 times worse than being in no relationship. Because when you are dating or married to a toxic woman, you are having to deal with this drama every single day. Think about how much brain points that expends. Brain points is like your mental capacity to do day-to-day things. You wake up with 100% brain points. Your brain is 100% refreshed. You do some work, that takes away 10% of your brain points. You go and work out, just that effort and time involved takes away 20% of brain points. You do some more work, maybe you do some intense work, that takes away 50% of brain points. You read, 10% of brain points gone. So you only have a limited, finite amount of brain points. There's only so much that you can put your time and effort towards, your brain and your mind towards. When you're in a toxic relationship, that toxic woman will take 90% of your brain points just through moodiness, arguments, your frustration, your insecurity. Imagine you thinking every day, she's probably going to cheat on me any day now. What if one day I come home and she smashed my computer, my laptop, my TV? What if one day I come home and she's killed the dog? What if one day I come home and she's drowned my baby, my children, in the bathtub? This has happened to men. This is what happens when men stay in a relationship with a woman who is toxic. Think about how sad that is. They stay in this relationship because they think, hey, being married at least is better than not being married. At least my kids will have this mother. But when you're married to a toxic, malicious woman, she will hurt you eventually. She will ruin your life. She will go to the police and tell them that you attacked her. She will go to the police and say that you raped her when you probably haven't even touched her intimately in months. Do you think a toxic woman would be having sex with you? Of course not. This has happened to men. It happened to one of Hamza's friends. He made a video about this. The girl he was seeing had a baby, said that it was his baby, my brother's friend's baby. Turns out it was someone else's. She led him on. She destroyed his world. This is what toxic women will do. They have no regard for other people. They are not reasonable. They are malicious. So again, toxicity is a normal part of human life. Your feminine wife, girlfriend, will undergo toxic states, but eventually it will pass. Eventually she will go back into a feminine state. And even then, she's probably toxic 5% of the time. Meaning, out of 100 days, there might be 1 to 5 days where she's been truly toxic. 90 to 95% of days, she's been herself, feminine. Yeah, she could still be moody. She could still be angry. She could still be frustrated. But your love, your presence makes her feel positive. Now imagine being in a relationship where 95% of days out of 100 are nothing but depressing, nothing but soul-crushing, full of arguments and fights, where you're constantly scared this woman will ruin my life. The only solution to a toxic relationship, a toxic marriage, any kind of relationship with a permanently toxic woman, is terminating the relationship. If your woman is now a very toxic person and you have genuinely tried everything. Because a lot of men think that their woman is toxic when actually the woman is just feminine. You just can't influence her because you don't know how to influence women because you didn't listen to this video by Danish. Has anyone else said what I'm saying today, like the difference between femininity, toxicity, how to influence feminine women? Nobody. Or they may have done bits, but nobody has tested it in their own marriage. I've done all the hard work for you. So just follow what I say. If you've genuinely exhausted all attempts, you've genuinely went above and beyond in trying to show your wife, show your girlfriend that you love her, you care for her, when she's being feminine or toxic, but nothing has worked. She is just a toxic person. The only solution to that is to terminate the relationship. Find someone else, because this person is not your soulmate. What is the definition of soulmate? And this is something that I have developed. Nobody else. I can define a soulmate. A soulmate is someone that you have an incredible physical connection, an incredible emotional connection, an incredible spiritual connection. If you don't have an incredible connection in all three areas, she is not your soulmate. So you are spending time with someone that is not your soulmate. You are missing your real soulmate. And then what could happen is that woman that was actually going to have this connection with you, she now finds someone else and they become soulmates. Soulmates are made. Soulmates are not pre-programmed. Soulmate isn't something that is predetermined for you. That is not true. Soulmates is someone that you connect with and you grow this incredible dynamic together. So if you don't do this with the right woman, someone else will. You will lose what could have been your soulmate because you stayed in a relationship with a woman who was downright hateful, who was downright malicious, who was downright toxic. Hope that helps.